Hi, friends. Welcome once again. So, to the first part of our topic, we are looking at the business environment, the ecosystem. Well, so typically, we are looking at the operating environment within which the company operates or lives, can survive. Every business has a legitimacy to survive. That legitimacy is provided to them by the ecosystem that supports them. If you have a system, a surrounding, an environment both within and without, internally or externally, which does not support your operational activities, then for sure you know that you are going to fail. Your operations will stall. At a point in time, you will not be able to achieve your organizational goals and objectives. So today we're looking at the business ecosystem, the environment within which it operates. It is broad. If you look at the text, it's covering about two parts of the text. So what we are going to be doing is that we'll split it into two parts. So I'll be taking the first part one now in this video, and then I'll do the second part as part two. And it's all on the business environment and ecosystem. One thing I want to highlight is that this is more or less a summary of the entire text. Okay, it is always advisable that you as an individual would take the text and read and delve deeper into it. Because what one thing I like about the Kaplan text is that even with the overview, they will always provide you, they will almost always provide you with an expanded text, which will further elaborate on points that you may not be having so much detailed information or understanding about. So as postgraduate students, I'm going to be making an assumption. The assumption that you know the basics. Okay. Then we build upon the basics so that we can cover all the learning outcomes and then the learning objectives. So let's move to the first part of the business environment and its ecosystem. Okay. So as I share the screen, just for the first part of the business environment and its ecosystem, we will then take a good a good look into these areas. It is something we've already seen, we've known in the past. Okay, Porter's five forces, the competitive forces, the PESTLE analysis. That's what we're looking at now. Okay, so we'll be going to um, we'll delve into it briefly, but oh, briefly but concisely. Let me put it concise, quite detailed. Okay, so we're looking at the business ecosystem. This is the lesson structure outline. So we're looking at the first one, the business ecosystems. Okay, two parts. The first part is what we're dealing with now. The concept of a business ecosystem. Normally, you would have heard of ecosystem being associated with scientific terminologies, right? Science, talking of the environment, the habitats, um, the natural setting where Homo sapiens and some living organisms live. They are able to survive. The same way, the business is seen like a small organism that survives in a very big environment that supports them. Okay, so we'll be looking at the introduction, the background, the emergence of the ecosystems, the participants within the ecosystems, and what functions they play. And again, what are business ecosystems? What are they specifically? What are these ones? There are also regulatory business models that help to support and ensure that the business runs as smoothly as possible and to be productive and efficient in providing value not just for its shareholders but to all other stakeholders involved in running the business. Then value creation. How do we recognize and indicate clearly on the corporate reports which values have been created, which ones have been distributed? Okay, is it just the monetary? No, not always. Not always. It's not just the profits and the numbers. We can also talk of value in the area of customer satisfaction, fair labor practices being implemented in the workplace. Okay, so on and so forth. So these are the areas we'll be looking at in the business ecosystem. There is always a starting point, the traditional, the conventional approach. And then, of course, out of this traditional conventional approach, we could have some legs flowing out or some points emanating out of the traditional approach. So, as we all know, markets made up of individuals, firms, organizations, that come into to do some form of barter, exchange, goods and services for money. Okay. Now, same thing happens in any business organizations. They all operate within certain markets. It can be an automated market, a physical market, where we go into exchange some goods for cash. Okay. Now, businesses within these markets, they're always changing. They're always changing. The business itself is changing. The market is also changing. Today, we are having iCloud. We have what the Microsoft, the yeah, iCloud. We're talking of um, 3D printing, biotechnology, nanotechnology. Mobile phones have evolved from digital to smartphones. Soon, I'm very sure we'll get phones which are even flatter and lighter than what we are using now. Social settings, social media is always evolving. Okay, these traditional methods help us, of course, to analyze what is happening in the system. But of course, these traditional settings help us to also forecast ahead, to update the settings and to be sure that things will not always be the same. Who thought that phones like Nokia 3310, those of you who are old enough will know these old phones, they used to be the the best in the system. But today, they've not been able to catch up with the changing trends of the market and the changing demands of the customers and the changing trends of the technology industry or the market, which has caused everything to leave them behind. Okay. Today, Nokia is trying to catch up with some smartphone technology. They'll get there. It's a gradual process. But others who leverage on these technical competencies are way ahead. The Apples, the Huawei's, the Samsungs, they are way ahead. Okay. So once we always realize that the system is changing, technology is advancing, as any organization, reasonably as they can be, they must also ensure that they update their systems and settings to catch up with these trends. Okay. Now, within this traditional setting, we normally have heard of the bigger picture, the PESTLE. Some also call it just PEST factors. Now we also have, so the pest factors, the pestle factors are normally the bigger picture, the macro. Okay. So we're talking of the political, the environmental, the socio-cultural, the technological, the legal, the environmental. Okay, the pest. And then we have some settings when you use the pest, normally you will see the socio-cultural standing, political and legal being in one. So when you see pest factors, it's the same. But if you use pestle or pestle, then you are still expanding it, in which case the P and the L will not be the same as in pest, but they'll stand alone. Okay. So pest in pest, P will be both political and legal. And then the E, of course, will always stand for the economic. The S in pest will be socio-cultural, and sometimes it covers the environmental. And then the T will stand alone as technological. Okay, either way, you're still capturing all of these six factors within the bigger picture. Then we have the micro, which is usually Porter's five forces. You might have heard it: bargaining power of suppliers, threats of new entrants, substitutes. Okay, all of those. We'll get into them. Then we also have the generic strategies to gain a competitive advantage. This one operates on both levels, both at the bigger picture and at the smaller picture, macro and micro levels. It operates on both levels. Okay. Now let's look at the bigger picture. Overall, a business. The business operates in an environment. It has to produce goods and services to individuals. Where do they get this from? They have to buy materials from suppliers to be able to produce goods and services to the final consumer. Who produce them? There are some human beings, labor. They have to convert these materials and work on them to be able to get the goods, the final product. And these labor who work must be paid some wages. Remember, they cannot just go and pick these things from the suppliers market. They cannot just go and pick anybody from the field. They need to hire them. They need to buy them. Where do they buy them from? How do they get it? Sometimes they borrow money from the banks and use it as working capital. Sometimes they invest their own shares, equity, capital. Why would I invest in a company for no reason, for the beauty of it? No. I invest, I take loans from the bank to run the business because I want to make profit. So shareholder value maximization is important. We want to make profits so that our capitals will grow. Capital gains, dividends. Okay. Again, we're also talking of the social setting. Um, People are changing. The dynamics, growing population. They need something. You need to provide to them. The environment, the system. Are you helping the system building some boreholes, being philanthropic, helping to set up some foundations? Technology, the system is changing. Are you catching up with technology, or you are still stuck to the old ways of doing business? The economy itself is also one. Remember, political factors will change, governments will come and go, Brexit will happen. What then happens? Trade border disputes, everything will happen. So, this is the bigger picture you are seeing you as a company, a microcosm, finding yourself within this particular bigger picture. You need to survive. You need to survive. So, the business environment is so big to the extent that if you don't adjust to each of the factors that define who you are, you get lost, you get missing. You'll not be able to meet the needs of your stakeholders, of your employees, of your suppliers, of the end users. And at the end of the day, you may fall out of business. So you must always meet these requirements, these needs, both at the macro level, at the micro level, internally, externally, so that you ensure you live within the limits of the society. If you want society to give you the legitimacy to operate, if you want the environment to give you the legitimacy, it's a resource that they give to you to operate as Tesco, as Bank of Scotland, okay, as the University of West of Scotland. If you want to get that recognition, that value, you must always ensure you meet the needs of the society. And you must also ensure you work within the remit of the laws, the legal regimes. The customers should always be paramount so that you ensure you meet their needs. So, like I said, the PESTLE or PEST is the bigger picture. We're looking at the political legislation, government policies will change. Brexit will lead to trade border disputes. And what will happen? Will I be able to adjust? So governments will come in and decide that let's just wipe off this. We are going to set up our own um, production side. So your production system could drop off. Okay, you will not be able to survive. Population growth, aging population. UK is experiencing an aging population setting in terms of demographics. How are they able to help to contribute towards the overall GDP of the economy? What is happening? Will you be able to end up recruiting strong and young guys into your business? Because the older ones are growing, they will soon leave, they will retire. How will you be able to operate and get these guys? Will you be able to attract skilled workers? Economy, look at it at a bigger picture. Changing systems in lifestyles. People are now wearing skinny dresses, and you are in the practice of producing baggies. Do you think you will be able to meet these changing needs and tastes and preferences? Young ones are coming up and they are all interested in these Marvel superhero movies, and you are always in the process or in the acts of producing romance or some old kind of Western style movies. Would they be able to adapt to it? So look at the cultural belief systems, look at the changing lifestyles, look at the demographics as well, and then be sure whether this fits within your overall corporate culture, corporate appetite. And again, when things change. We are now all gone online, almost automation. Almost everyone has gone into automation, and we need it. You no longer go to the client site and add up numbers using calculators. You don't populate everything using Excel. Softwares will prepare the financial statement for you. So, are you up to speed with this? Individually, it will be a challenge to us. It has been stated that any technical skill that you have, any technical know how, software that you've been using for the past years, in 5 years, it becomes obsolete. So if you are stuck to just analyzing data using Stata or using SPSS or using RStudio only, and you think you can stick to this software for the next 5 years, you'll be out of the system. You can have all the qualifications you need, but you'll be out of the system because new methods will be coming up, New updates will be coming up, and you need to always upgrade yourself with CPDs. The company itself must adjust to new enterprise risk or enterprise management systems to ensure that they catch up with speed. Working regulations, like I said, I captured it almost in political. The working regulations, are you able to give work, to recruit people using the legal settings, legal regimes? Are you operating in line with the requirements of the system? Are you just polluting the system? Some of you just pollute the system without cognizance with the environmental laws and policies. Okay, so this leads us into the environmental setting, help to ensure the sustainability, sustainable development. Okay, make sure that we are able to enjoy now in our times, but we will not endanger posterity from also enjoying what is due theirs. So look at this in the way that, because if you harm the environment, you will not be able to survive. If you are able to destroy the environment just thinking of making your profit to the detriment of posterity, trust me, the system will rise against you and you'll not be able to survive. Now, the competitive environment. So we looked at the macro, the PESTLE. Let's look at the micro, the competitive environment at the workplace, at the work setting level. Okay, could somebody just enter and then knock you off your feet? Can a new mobile company come in and be able to knock off Apple and Samsung off their feet? What about suppliers? Would they be able to bargain so much to the extent that we will not be able to afford what they are asking us? Do we rely so much on one supplier to the extent that what he says is final? We don't get similar raw materials from a different supplier? That's a question you ask yourself. Customers, can they always demand and we can do nothing about the pricing? Would they always want us to increase quantity at a lower price at the same price? Can we afford it? Within the industry, we have competitors, rivals. They are bringing up new products, new systems and processes. Can we catch up with competitors and outcompete them? Can we also undertake some can we gain a competitive advantage over them? Economic economy of scale, okay, economies of scope. Can we? Okay, and then substitute again also leads to the same thing. Can we have substitute to augment? Somebody wants Surface Pro. The cost is too high. He can't. And Microsoft decided that let us now produce a Surface Go. Surface Go has almost the features of Surface Pro, but not the same. The functions, the speed, almost everything is different. Then they produce a substitute so that if you cannot afford the Pro, you afford the Go. Okay, so these are the elements. Let's take a quick look at this again. So we are always looking at, can someone enter the market without barriers to entry? So in the automobile industry, can somebody just come up and say, I've produced an XYZ car and will easily be able to penetrate the market and capture a good market share? If there is that threat, then you should know that your business has a going concern problem. It cannot survive the test of time. Customers could also ask you, increase the volume of trade, increase the packaging, improve upon the packaging, differentiate your product from that of the other. They want you to increase the quantity at the same price. Can we afford it? So we should always look at the bargain power of customers. And this will always affect what we produce, how we differentiate our product. So you will always see a product at a point in time, they will change the packaging and they will tell you the same content because they want it to be appealing. And customers should be able to acquire it at a higher cost, maybe, or at the same cost, okay? Something that will help the company to improve, not to lose, okay? Again, the threat that we can have an organization that comes into the market and produces substitute products. So somebody goes to the market and is looking for Pro, let me still use Microsoft Pro, and doesn't get it. And somebody comes in and produces a Go substitute and picks up. Is it possible? It is possible because now organizations are always looking at areas where they can reduce cost, where they can differentiate their products from the rest of the market. Therefore, as an organization, we should always have this at the back of our minds to always get a substitute. to augment it. Otherwise, somebody will produce a substitute that will clear us off our feet and capture enough market. It will capture some market share that will help us to lose our grounds in terms of profitability. Once again, we shouldn't always depend on one supplier as an organization. We should vary our suppliers so that we can have the strength to bargain. So we have the bargaining power to buy varied resources, materials at a lower price. Okay. And again, always as a company, put in place measures, marketing strategies, okay, production strategies that will help you to always have a price advantage over your competitors. Okay. You can differentiate yours in such a way that no matter what the customer does or the competitor does, yours will always stand out and they will always come for yours. Okay. I remember a time when Samsung brought in the Samsung Galaxy S6 or 7, and what they wrote was that made for humans. The caption alone is something altogether. So you see that humans are thronging to go and buy the Samsung. Okay. So make sure yours is different from the rest. Provide after sales services, good customer relations, and you can always retain your market share. There are other factors. There are other factors we should also look at. Complements. How does the firm collaborate or cooperate with makers of complementary product? Complements are more, they are not like substitute, but they augment. Okay, so for example, I have my lens. Okay, the complement will help me cover it, the case. Okay, it's like bolt and nuts. If you have bolt and the nut is not there, how will you be able to fit in? So if I'm well versed in producing the lens, the frame, the lens, this one, then I should be, and I cannot produce the case, then I should be able to work with somebody who can produce the case so that it can always work hand in hand with them. And that's what most companies do nowadays. They try to specialize in their product and work with others to produce the complementary. Okay. And also, IT is very important. It has implication on all the five factors. IT is very important. On suppliers, you sit at the back of your computer and order your products. Okay. You can always provide after sales services to your clients behind the computer. Competitive rivalry. Okay. You can just still sit behind your PC and update packaging and labels. So IT is very important in all. Then we have the competitive strategies that helps an organization to gain a competitive advantage over its rivals. Okay, and there are three: cost leadership. You must always work at the point that you can produce that same item at a lower cost, or you can. That is economies of scale. Okay, try as much as you can at the lowest cost. You produce the same thing. So you can see at the fuel stations, nobody is there to help you to fill in your tank. Gone were the days when humans will have to be hired to stand there and they fill your tank for you and they get wages. Today, you can put in automated systems at a very lower cost, cut off the labor, no more labor to stand there to fill your pump and take salary at the end of the month. You go in and fill it and cut down on the cost. The same thing, okay? So you produce the item at the lowest cost. That's what we term by cost leadership. In that case, you help to reduce your expenses and your profits will grow up. Differentiation, produce something which is unique from the rest. Apple products, they don't use Android, they use their iOS system. Same with Samsung, they use Android. Google use Android. Okay, so Samsung is working with Google to use Android, but iOS is specific and unique to Apple products, unique to the market. Differentiate your product from the rest. Rolls Royce, if you see a Rolls Royce car, is different from the rest of the Toyota. Buy a Toyota Land Cruiser Prado and buy a Toyota Land Cruiser, and you see they are almost the same, but there's something unique that differentiates one from the other. Always ensure your products, your services are unique from the rest. And focus. You target a niche market. I'm targeting first year undergraduate students in the UK. Therefore, you produce items which will be appealing to them, both in terms of cost and differentiation. So all students will come, all first year students get into the UK or within the UK, and they are only targeting your product to buy. Okay. So it's very important. Now you can now realize Amazon has brought up the Kindle Fire. Very robust item. Their intention is to capture the younger age with their IT skills. Children will just pick the Kindle, they can crash it, there are games on it, but it wouldn't break. So you target a niche market, a specific market, so that you can always provide items to them at a very competitive rate, cost, and also quite different from the rest of the market. So, to take some examples of some strategies you can take in terms of cost leadership, I mentioned economies of scale, exploit technology, use technology. The learning curve effect, is it so sharp? Do people take a long while to be able to learn on the job, or quickly they learn it on the job? Otherwise, you'll be spending so much money on training and development. But if they can learn quickly on the job, that's good. It helps us to improve productivity and reduce our indirect cost. Okay. Have favorable access to supplies. If I come to you and your costs are too high, I go to another supplier to buy at a lower cost, the same materials. Okay. If I go to this shop and I don't get it, I go to another one. Okay. Relocate to cheaper areas. So you see that almost all prominent jobs or organizations have set up plants and factories in China. Why? They get cheap labor, they get cheap materials over there. Take any iPhone product, look at the back. The back of it, you see they've written designed by Apple in California, made in China. Because it doesn't mean the product is poor quality. Somebody would think you hear this old notion where people think China produces substandard products. No. It's because at that location, they get lower rates for labor and for materials. Okay. There are abundance of resources there. So that's what they will do and use IT to monitor costs. If you are supposed back to the cheaper rates, if you want to hire people in the UK, you pay them £10 an hour. You go to China, you pay the person £5 an hour. Which one would you go for? You go for that one. Okay. Again, differentiation, breakthrough products, improved products, beautiful, unique, with a special brand and special features. You sit back and ask Alexa, turn off the lights, and it turns it off. Beautiful, right? Use of IT, it spans across all these elements that we are talking about. We end with this activity. I'll ask you to look at it. In my next slide, I'll give you the solution to it. So it talks about Charlton, a manufacturing company of ground source heat pumps. Okay. Their devices will allow users to extract geothermal energy from the earth, and they use that same energy to heat their premises. Cost effective, right? Now, in order to develop new products and services, the company, they have agreed develop a mutually beneficial relationship with their supply chain, with the suppliers. Okay. Now, they are trying to analyze their business environment, and here they realize that there could be some competitive advantage gained if they treat their environment as an ecosystem, a system that is interrelated. Okay, that is not something which has been done in their industry for a while. They might have always thought that the systems, ecosystems are distinct one from the other, but no. Now, this is what we want to do. Align each of the following competitive forces to match the likely effect of Charlton's new approach. You may use each effect more than once. So these forces, bargaining power of suppliers, bargaining power of customers, rivalry, and threats of new entrants. What do you think will happen if they should take this approach? Will it increase? Let's take, for example, threats of new entrants. Will it increase? Will it decrease? Or it will remain stable? For each of them, try and see. Okay. So we'll end it here. I'll be happy. So I'm taking this text directly from Kaplan, the E2, okay, 2020, page 6. The answer is there. If you have the book, okay, the answer is there. It gives you an explanation to that. But I'll be happy that usually with these activities, if you could always take a step behind, try and answer it on your own before you refer to the answers, that would be great, okay? So as I said, we've gone 30 minutes almost, and I'll end it here as I take the time to look at the second part of the topic on ecosystems. All right, see you soon, friends. Take care. Bye-bye.